What's going on? The folk in town are talking about you.
They shot on me. That's what.
What? Who did?
All of them.
Wait. Tell me again from the start.
All right, if you want. They caught Peter of Dauba, George Weiss, and a fellow named Harold that everyone calls Frost. They're scum who've been hunted for months. Now they've finally been caught, there's a big execution being prepared. Folk will come from miles around to watch.
Well, that's a good thing for you, isn't it?
It would be, if I was fucking doing it.
Isn't it the custom for you to do all the executions in Rattay?
It is. Not just the custom, but by bloody right. You're not being replaced, they said. This is just a loan of Gallows Hill.
Well, there must be some reason for it.
If you know of one, spit it out.
So who's doing the job?
They invited Executioner Heinz all the way from Kuttenberg. They say it's going to be a big show. Have I ever fucked up an execution? I always behead them in one blow. And when his lordship wants to drag out a hanging, I leave them kicking for minutes. If he wants it quick, they're stiff as soon as I drop them. And they push me aside like that, after all these years of service.
What can we do about it?
Nothing. His lordship's decided, and that's that.
Nothing? You think they should be allowed to get away with this?
Well, no, but...
You have the right to executions in Rattay, don't you?
I most certainly do.
Then you're in the right. Don't tell me you can't think what to do about it.
The trouble is, they already paid the executioner and he's come here along with his assistants.
We can't stop the executions, unless Heinz drops dead on the spot.
Which we don't want.
Indeed not. The best thing would be if he fucked up the executions. The famous Kuttenberg executioner can't handle the job. The mob would laugh him out of town and beg me to take over. They'd never invite him here again.
Great, so how do we go about it?
The problem is, I don't know what the sentences will be. They'll only announce them just before the executions, and then it'll be too late to do anything.
Can't we just get him blind drunk?
That wouldn't work. He's no beginner. And even if we did get him drunk, they'd just postpone the executions till he's sobered up.
Would the bailiff know more?
Maybe. But most likely only Heinz will know the sentence. I've got an idea, though. Will you help me?
Of course.
Great. Thank you, Henry.
So where should I start?
Find out from the bailiff what their crimes are, and then have a look in the Black Chronicle at the Rathaus.
It goes back before my time. You're bound to find records of some similar offenders in it. You need to find people who committed the same crimes, and came from the same sort of background, noble or lowborn. That way you can find out what the appropriate punishments are.
Then come back to me, and we'll work out what to do.
I'll get moving.
And Henry? They want to do the executions on my gibbet at Gallows Hill. I can hold them up for a while, but probably no more than a week.
I'll bear that in mind.
What? I'm honored that a knight such as you takes an
I hear there's going to be a big execution here.
There certainly is. It'll be a glorious event for our town. They'll be talking about it for years.
Who's for the chop?
The biggest outlaws and reprobates for miles around. Peter of Dauba, George Weiss, and Frost Herald.
What did they do?
What didn't they do, more like? They caused trouble all over the country.
Who's this Peter of Dauba?
A noble who lost his fortune. He's been holding up merchants for months.
That's all?
At first, but then his gang started getting bloodthirsty. They wiped out a whole squad that was hunting them. He won't walk away from this.
What can you tell me about Herald?
They call him Frost because he's always cool as ice, until he starts. I've seen plenty of killers and thugs in my day, but that one's got the devil in him.
Why?
They say the only thing that'll put a smile on his face is the sound of screaming and weeping. That beast kills for pleasure. When they caught him, he had a candle made from the arm of an infant. For luck, he said.
Christ. What about Weiss?
No one actually knows where he came from, but they say the murdering started with him. He never leaves witnesses. He'd rather wipe out a whole village than take a chance.
Thanks, Bailiff. That's all I need to know. I need your advice.
Did you find out what they did? And did you read the Black Chronicle?
Yes.
So tell me what you found out, and I'll see what I can come up with.
Just bear in mind, I can help you work it out, but you'll only find exactly what you need in the Rattay Black Chronicle. Every executioner has his own way of doing things, and this bastard might have different methods in mind.
Peter of Dauba has many murders on his soul, but he's still a nobleman.
Good health to you, Henry.
His
God
neck is
be
going on the
with
block.
you, Henry.
That makes sense. His crimes are great, but he's still a nobleman, so he gets an honorable death.
George Weiss is a bloodthirsty bastard who left a trail of corpses behind him. He hasn't earned an honorable death. He's for a long drop on a short rope.
A murderer deserves nothing better. That makes sense.
Frost Herald is the worst of them all, sent by Satan himself. The things he's done would make a demon blanch.
Welcome, Henry.
The executioner will take his time with that one. He'll be begging to die. If I read correctly, it'll start with ripping the flesh.
Aye, could be. He deserves nothing better.
So, have we got everything we need?
God be with you.
We've covered all the
Henry.
possibilities. There's nothing more we can think up.
So, what's the plan then?
An executioner's greatest boast is to behead with one blow. That's why an executioner's sword needs to be a splendid piece of craftsmanship and sharp as a razor.
I follow you, but how can I get to the sword?
It won't be easy. The executioner's sword is one of his most valuable instruments.
Couldn't it just be switched for a different one?
He'd notice straight away. It's different than a regular sword, heavier with a blunt point. The balance is different, too.
I could take yours and...
He'd recognize that, too. An executioner knows his sword like the back of his hand. He'd notice as soon as he picked it up.
So I'll have to steal it, dull the blade, and put it back before anyone notices?
Yes,
Good
that's
health to
probably
you,
the only
Henry.
way.
That'll be interesting.
Greetings,
And how can I
Henry.
dull the sword? Should I hack at a stone wall?
I thought you were a blacksmith, son. It's enough to caulk up the honing. That will make much less noise.
Welcome, Henry.
That'll do me.
Good health to you, Henry.
With ripping of the flesh, the bastard has to suffer, but survive as long as possible.
So, if Herald drops dead right at the start...
The executioner will look like a fool.
May
But
the
how can I
Lord
make
watch
sure it
over
happens?
you, Henry.
I don't know. It depends on the skill of the executioner. An experienced one starts in places where there's no threat of heavy bleeding, the sides, the chest.
And the Kuttenberg executioner is definitely experienced.
No
God
doubt.
save Henry.
They use a kind of special tongs, and in between the ripping, the convict's wounds are treated so he can take more.
Greetings, Henry.
Maybe the tongs could be spiked with something nasty.
And you'd know what to use?
I know a little, and I might be able to get something.
That would work. Good idea, Hal.
What if I get the one who's supposed to dress the wounds drunk?
Don't do that. It could be someone from Rattay, and even if it isn't, the blame wouldn't fall on the executioner.
That'll do me. What about the hanging?
If the rope breaks when it's done, it's an unbelievable
God
disgrace
be
for the
with
executioner.
you, Henry.
Folk see it as the will of God, and sometimes he even has to let the condemned man go.
Supposing I just cut it?
I doubt it would work. The executioner will check it before the hanging when he's preparing the
Henry,
gallows.
I'm glad
He'd
you
probably
stopped by.
notice.
I could shoot the rope through from a distance with an arrow.
Don't be daft. No, you couldn't.
But I'm...
Where did you get such a stupid idea? From some wench? Even if you somehow hit it, that rope's much too strong.
Well,
And even if you did manage to shoot it through, do you really think nobody would notice?
maybe it's not the best plan I've ever come up with.
I certainly hope not.
What about switching it?
That could work. I've got an old rope here I don't use anymore. It looks fine, but it's run. It'll be perfect.
Great, I'll use that.
Greetings, Henry.
That'll do me. Thanks. If you try to torture anyone with this, the lucky fellow will die quickly. never hold the weight of a grown man.
Hey, Henry's come to see us.
There we go. Now to get it back to the Executioner. Couldn't chop the head off a chicken with this. About the executions.
Is it done? Can I let them get on with the executions now?
Yes.
Now all we have to do is go and enjoy the show.
Into your hands, Lord, I commend my spirit. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, who redeemed me by his precious blood, have mercy on me and lead me to eternal glory. Amen.
welcome, Henry.
Jesus, look where you're going.
Did you see that? An utter disgrace.
It certainly was. The executioner couldn't hold his head high after that.
True. The whole crowd was looking forward to it, and right at the start he fucked up the beheading. And then he took the tongs and... and the fellow kicked the bucket right away. Jesus, how he gaped. And then furious as a rabid dog, furious, he grabs the last one. And he wasn't even able to hang him. I'll be forever grateful to you, Hal. You saved my job, and you deserve a reward for it.
Thank you.